Hello, filmmaker. I want to show you an important tip for every filmmaker, and it's one that novices, especially when they're getting into filmmaking, kind of forget. And that's the line script. Everyone tells you to start and create a shot list as part of your pre-production, so when you get to the set, you know what to shoot. The problem with a shot list just by itself is it doesn't tell you if you have enough coverage of every single thing in your scene. And so I always begin with a line script. What is a line script? Well, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's you take your script and you essentially line it up with all the shots. So here in front of me, I have the first 2 pages of Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. Now, I print this out. You can actually, if you're wanting to get more into screenwriting and so forth, or just read some of your favorite movies as scripts so you can kind of learn that craft of it, a great resource is like simplyscripts.com, but there's also other ones. For the most part, if you literally just Google some of your favorite movies and write in screenplay or script PDF or something like that, results will come up. For whatever reason, I chose Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. So I'm actually going to omit this first scene. Obviously, if this was something that I was actually doing, then we would of course do that. But I'm actually going to start with the exterior street night. And I've only printed 2 pages of it. The scene does go on for a couple more pages, but it's enough to showcase what I'm going for. So the way a line script works is, and especially if it goes on for multiple pages, so whenever you're shooting something, you're going to want a wide shot, right? So with a line script, you start at the top, of whatever the action that a particular shot covers. So in this case, my wide shot is going to start the scene, and it's going to continue through here. And because it continues on, I'm going to draw an arrow there. And then I'll kind of draw the arrow there, and then put the arrow down here, and we'll just assume the scene ends there, so I'll draw a dash there. So now this indicates that this quote-unquote shot, which I'll call shot A, and I'll just write WS so I know it's a wide shot. So when you do actually create your shot list, now you know which shots are which. And so here I have the entire shot covering the entire scene. Now, with this, we assume that it covers everything, right? It's a wide shot, so we get all the coverage of everything. Let's say we want a shot, that we want a shot of Dudley. So then we'll do the same thing. We want Dudley for the entire, for the entirety of the scene, and we'll make it a close-up, right? So we'll call this shot B, and we'll call it Dudley CU. Okay. But the thing of it is that Dudley, with this, especially with a close-up, we don't necessarily see him, at least the actions, for the full scene. He might be reacting to certain stuff, but some of the action is not necessarily on him in terms of this coverage. This is why I like line scripts, because now you start to get to know, okay, what do you have actual coverage of? What do you have reaction shots of versus what do you have actual shots of? So in this case, the way a line script works is you squiggle out anything that is not part of that particular shot. So anytime Harry's talking or doing something, we don't see him. Anytime in this particular case that we see the gang members, they might be sort of like a shoulder in frame or something like that, but we don't actually see them. So where it says one of Dudley's gang steps in as if to punch Harry, Harry glares at him, that's not part of Dudley's shot. Again, he might be reacting to it and we might cut to that, but this is not covered as part of that. So the gang member pauses, then we see, so Dudley's speaking. So here Harry is speaking, so we don't see that. Then Mrs. Fig enters the scene. Then Dudley's talking, Dudley's gang laughs. Harry, blah, blah, blah. So then we have Dudley here. Harry whips out his wand and speaks. Dudley's gang laughs at him, but we do see this. So, and bottom. Okay. So anytime we have the squiggles is where Dudley is not actually physically in the scene. Now, just for, I'm just going to do a quick shot for Harry So we'll call this shot C, and then Harry, we'll just call it CU for Harry. And I'll just do this really quickly. So, okay, we see Harry, but then we don't, then Dudley enters the scene, then he's laughing, then Dudley. We do see him glaring, but then they step back. So we got that. Harry speaks, Mrs. Fig. Then Dudley, they laugh, but Harry speaks. Then it goes back to Dudley. We see Harry whip out his wand. Okay, Dudley's gang laughs at Harry, so we don't see that. We see Harry speaking, Dudley quivers, and the rest of the scene, we don't see Harry in terms of the action. Okay. So now we kind of know, in the way the line script works in terms of coverage, you can start to read line by line across to see the various coverage that you have. So right now we know that we have 3 shots across this whole scene, and at any given point right now we have 2 shots that cover the action. Now we want maybe specialized shots. So when it says one of Dudley's gang steps up as if to punch Harry, we might want just a very specific shot just to cover this action. So we might call this D, and we'll just call this the punch, right? So we know, like, when we're shooting that this is the only thing that we have, and we're gonna cut to this, we're gonna want it, but right now this action is only covered. This shot covers only this action. Same thing with where Harry whips out his wand. We might want a very particular shot just for that, right? Of him, close up, getting out the wand, boom. So let's just go ahead and call that shot E, wand whip, right? We'll just call it that. So this is how you can start to see what coverage you have. And worst case when you're on set, where this really comes into play is, let's say you're really pressed for time. Well, okay, like worst case, we can start to cut out some of these shots that we would love to get, but at least we have them in, maybe some of the close-ups, the wider shots, and so forth. And essentially that way you don't miss any particular moment. And my big advice is you always want at least 2 shots for any particular action, but if you can get 3, great. And again, this allows you to then also pinpoint your very special shots. Again, like the wand whip out or the punch. So that's what a line script is. I think it's a highly underutilized tool. For Hollywood movies, they use it and with good purpose, but I think in independent filmmaking, it's not as heavily used. And so hopefully this inspires you to utilize this great tool. It's something I always begin with whenever I make my shot list. So there you have it. Bye.